Hello everyone, it's thomasjujube, and welcome to the third installment of the Toku Ideas series now. I guess this is a series where I talk about fan-submitted ideas relating to the tokusatsu genre. Somehow this has turned into my subscriber milestone celebration. Previously I did it for 3,000 subscribers, then I did it for 10,000, and now I'm doing it for 20,000 subscribers? How? Why? Thank you guys, gals, everyone in between, so much. All your support is always just absolutely mind-blowing. I don't think my brain will ever fully accept that so many people like watching my weird discussions about tokusatsu, because that's just a really crazy fact. I don't know, I do this for fun and so many people have fun with that as well, so thank you so much for that. I love you guys. So I'm giving back. This video is all about you. Let's get into people's fan-made tokusatsu ideas. Our first idea of the video comes from Patty. In Mania City, 3 friends would be caught in the invasion by Kaiser X in the Power World Revolution to prove themselves as the strongest wrestlers in the universe. Professor Y recruits this group of friends to become the Face Rangers to stop them. Red Face is Jerry Funk, Blue Face is Ken Shirazura, and Yellow Face is Johnny Cena. Later on, the White and Pink Diva Rangers would be introduced, followed up by the Green Heel Ranger, the Sixth Ranger with a connection to Red Face's past. In a unique twist, there won't be many Zord fights in the season. Instead, episodes end with a race between the Rangers and monsters, and Green Heel's impact is increased because he will actually have Zords. Felipe's Kamen Rider idea begins 45 million years ago when the kaiju driver caused civil war between its users, which created a rivalry that lasted until the present day. Jax Woods finds a new kaiju driver and becomes Kamen Rider Goji, and works with the other kaiju riders to save the world from the evil kaiju riders that have just awoken from stasis. Obviously, the motif of this season is based on Toho's roster of big monsters. The main character is Kamen Rider Goji for Gojira/Godzilla. Other heroes are Kamen Rider Rodan, Jet Jaguar, and Kong, and some of the villains include Kamen Rider Ghidorah and Kamen Rider Destroya. This idea begins with a guy named Movie Critic who gets hated on by everyone he knows because they think he is responsible for the disappearance of his friends, girlfriend, and his brother. One day he puts on a VR headset as he is about to shoot a review and is teleported into the headset where he is greeted by a guy in a robe. Critic is told that he has been picked to save the VR world from a virus and is given a movie Deca driver and some Critic Deca cards. With these new tools, he is given the mission to journey through movie worlds to retrieve new powers while also reviewing the films and finding his missing friends. Sunny Go Lucky's idea is based on animations and cartoons and is called Kamen Rider Mono. After an ancient race of aliens known as the Blots break out of a government facility, pianist Noboru Furisha gets caught up in one of their attacks on the city. A mysterious figure gives Noboru the Mono projector and the Buzz Off Buster score tape, and he uses these to turn into Kamen Rider Mono. Mono is based on old American cartoons, and other writers will build on this idea, with Kamen Rider Roto based on old Slavic cartoons and Kamen Rider Cell based on Japanese anime. Next up is an adaptation of Kamen Rider Drive called Armored Racer Nitro, created by Ultraman fan 100 Productions. You can actually watch this little adaptation on YouTube right now. The synopsis is Simon McAllister discovers the shifting cars and uses the Turbo AI belt to become the titular armored racer and battle the cyberoids led by Bano and Lupin. There's a bit of an adaptation flair to this, like the inclusion of the movie exclusive Kamen Rider Lupin. Drive and Chaser will have new familial ties, and even Kamen Rider Axel from Double appears and plays a role in the story like he did in a Drive special. Have you ever wanted a season of Toku that just takes a bunch of different seasons and then just mashes them all together? That's what King Wolf's Ragashi Sentai Tokushu Ranger does. Our main cast is made up of Captain Marvelous as Toku Red, Aruto Hiden as Toku Yellow, Haruki Natsukawa as Toku Blue, Ichiga Usami as Toku Pink, and Usagi Tsukinu as Toku Green, pulling from all different parts of the tokusatsu genre to create this one super duper team. This is expanded upon upon with other Ranger teams and other Rangers, featuring Kamen Rider Gaim as Toku Navy, Ultraman Orb as Toku Silver, Shinken Red as Toku Crimson, and many others. This unique cast of characters and seasons certainly opens the door for a lot of great interactions. This next idea is really cool because it's like a little animation series on YouTube. Kamen Rider Cyber is created by Fox Animations and focuses on a network-based rider with the power of the cyber world, and he has all kinds of little gimmicks and robot friends that help give him powers. His base form is the biggest example of that, with the driver being the creation of a little robot friend that teaches him how to use it, and the henshin involves the summoning of another little robot friend that allows the rest of the armor to combine with its user and create Kamen Rider Cyber. Delta's submitted idea is called Power Rangers Go Shine, an adaptation of Mashin Sentai Kiramager. On the planet Gemtopia, King Valor used the power of the Go energy to create the Crystal Warrior Power Rangers, but they were defeated by his brother Prince Eclipse because he joined the Shad Go Empire, resulting in the Rangers being turned into gemstones. To stop his brother from getting the Ranger powers, Valor sends his daughter, Princess Chamuk, to Earth, where she recruits a team of humans to become a new team of Power Rangers Go Shine. Eventually, Chamuk herself will join the team as the Silver Ranger, and together this team of Power Rangers works to stop Shad Go and unravel the mystery behind Eclipse's betrayal. This fan-made Sentai season by Zethlin is powered by good old-fashioned Sentai dinosaurs, now combined with good old-fashioned Sentai vehicles. Gao Sentai Ryuru Major is a 5-ranger team that uses old technology, the dino vehicles, to fight the Robo-Warlock armies of the Mecha Jiku Kimager. The team is pretty diverse. Blue is a newbie, yellow is a race car driver, white is a scientist, and black is the oldest and team mentor, while the Red Ranger is a crazy dinosaur-human fusion that was originally created by the villains and now fights against them. Showbill Stonk's idea is an original Kamen Rider series meant to be a what-if for a season that was created for the Western audience, inspired by Kamen Rider 1971 and 01. Zaya is the harsh government of the city, known for their brutal methods in order to keep the lower class under their control. 2 siblings in this lower class discover a damaged cyborg one day and repair him, naming him Emilio. Thanks to the siblings, Emilio gains the ability to power up and become Kamen Rider MK1, and he defends the lower class from Zaya's Shock Rider soldiers because he used to be a Shock Rider himself. When he proves that he's not part of this evil organization anymore, his new source of power becomes Kamen Rider Hyper 1. Emilio's change of heart inspires other Shock Riders to betray Zaya, which is the origin of Masked Riders Crusade and Thunderbolt, and together this team fights for the lower class and later seeks to uncover the legend of the first Rider, the symbol that inspired Zaya's Shock Riders and could change everything. Aries Stone has another Kamen Rider idea for us called Kamen Rider Dracos. The story begins in an alternate dimension where the elements are controlled by mystical creatures. One of them, Darkness King, begins to invade Earth in search of more power, prompting the Fire King to choose Itsuki Akiyama as his champion. With the Gate Driver and the Dragon Myth Key, Itsuki channels the Fire King's power in order to protect the Earth from the invasion from another dimension. This idea is for a wholly original season of Toku called Henshin Hero Rhythmogear, created by Hero Wasp. It's 2056. 20 years ago, the O25 virus turned anyone over the age of 25 into zombies, sending most of humanity into shelters called Edu Nations, which removes 25-year-olds after they come of age. Mark Ellington lives in Goldcrest, the first Edu Nation, and discovers a 78-year-old man that's been unaffected by the virus. The man gives Mark the Rhythm Riser and the Pop and Jazz Gears, which he uses to transform into the music and metal hero Rhythmogear, with the mission to save Goldcrest from the dangers of the O25 infected world. Alpha Edge Hikari has a sequel idea for Denko Chojin Gridman, no, not that one, that focuses on Daichi, who is the cousin of Naoto from the original Gridman. Daichi lives a normal life as a high schooler until a kaiju attacks the city, and he witnesses Naoto entering Junk, Gridman's power source that turns him into Gridman. During this battle, Gridman becomes heavily damaged and is forced to retreat. This prompts the discharge of Gridman Beta from Junk, an old prototype version of Gridman that tells tells Daichi they can work together to save Naoto. Using the Ultra Acceptor, the two merge into a kaiju-sized Ultraman Beta and use the Beta Ultra Buster to defeat the monster and save the city. With this, Naoto is flung out of junk, and Daichi promises to take his place as Gridman Beta for the time being and protect the world from kaiju invasions. For Grand Muteki's idea, we begin in the city of Dairyu, which has recently discovered a massive fossil, causing more discoveries in the scientific field, but also resulting in the kidnapping of paleontologists by these new Inishubi monsters. To stop the attacks, the Prehistory Museum with the fossil created the Saurus Driver and the Rekutsu tokens, which fall into the hands of tour guide Daisuke Sanada. He uses it to become Kamen Rider Saurus and fights with the power of dinosaurs, later joined by Kamen Rider Urpon. They work to uncover the mystery behind the Inishubi, the massive fossil, and later Kamen Rider extincts plans for them all, operating in the shadows and doing spooky museum shadowy stuff. It's time for another crossover idea, courtesy of Toku Daigu's Wakusei Sentai Sekaiger. When the Devil Planet Raiders begin to attack planet Earth, Kazik acquires the power of planet Mars and becomes Sekai Red and attempts to take on the invasion on his own. Just as he is going to be defeated, Sekai Yellow, Sekai Green, Sekai Pink, and Sekai Blue join him and successfully hold back the invasion as well. The team is joined by Orion Sekai in the future, a betrayer of the villains, and they are all mentored by Munami Nami and Solora, a princess from the sun. At some point in the series, Munami Nami and Orion become final bosses thanks to their dark pasts, and it's up to Solora to return them to their good nature. Gogo Mighty Jetman is the original Toku idea from Thomas F. It's the year 2070 in Max's city, and Jonah Hendricks has just miraculously defeated a supervillain with his scrap metal set of armor engineered by him and his friends. This results in Jonah making contact with Junie Jananopolis, the smartest person in the world. She offers Jonah the chance to work with her to protect from the terrorist organization known as Alltech, and by accepting this offer, he becomes Mighty Jetman. With the power to turn into a ground-level hero and mecha-sized robots, Mighty Jetman deals with Alltech's weekly attacks and their incorporation into his daily life. The beginning of Arctic Kaiju's idea is 150 years ago, after the alien Nolorians crash land on Earth and begin to assimilate into the planet's culture. Using their beast soul gems, they plan to take control of the world's leaders and in turn the human race, beginning with the Prime Minister of Japan. During their attack, however, Dakato Makutara stops a Nolorian general from corrupting the Prime Minister and instead has the gem implanted into his chest, causing his horrific transformation into Ryu Geyser. Thanks to a mental conversation between Dakato and the beast in the gem, he was able to turn it into a force for good, and he attacks the Nolorians. Little did the Nolorians know that the beginning of their master plan to take over the world would result in the creation of the one thing that could stop them. TL Warrior Thomas's original character is known as Kamen Rider Cassetto. Raito Maseri came to Earth to begin the alien Casseroid invasion, but had a change of heart after learning about humans and becoming interested in their culture. His father, Emperor Raitonai, sends troops to kill him for his betrayal, but Raito uses the Cassetto driver to defend himself and the planet. His different forms are accessed with cassettes linked to different genres of music, with rock, orchestra, and disco to go all in with this musical motif in the season. Vacuous Vast has another original season idea called Gaibotsu Games. Everyone in the world has a bronze capsule that contains a kaiju called a Gaibotsu. The bond between a human and their Gaibotsu is used for battles between people once they are transported to an area known as the Gaibotsu Void. Fights typically carry no life or death consequences until the arrival of the Demolishers. They have unique capsules called Demolition Capsules, which amplify a Gaibotsu's strength and allows them to perform demolition moves, which kills an opponent Gaibotsu and its human. To stop them, Shoichi, Kametsu, and Genbu, alongside more of the best Gaibotsu players in Nishia, rise up to challenge the Demolishers' reign of terror and unravel the origin of the entire Gaibotsu race itself. It's time for another adaptation idea. This time, it's Sento's Power Rider 01 based on, well, yeah, The story focuses on the CEO of Davis International, Warren Davis, and his battles against the rogue Humagears, like the original season, but there are a few adaptation changes. Thouser is an ex-employee of Davis International called Thousand, and Valkyrie is his daughter, who powers up later in the show with the amazing Cheetah Key to mimic her father. The two of them are defeated by Warren's father, Power Rider 1, who faked his death. In the finale, the arc will go on to increase toy sales tenfold by creating the Ocean Wolf, Hellflame Hopper, and Terrifying Scorpion forms, in addition to corrupting Amy into the Black Hopper, which is purified to become 0201's final form. Hey, so we're like halfway through with the video now? If you enjoyed it up to this point, be sure to leave a like, that would help me out a lot. And if you want to talk more about fan-made toku ideas beyond the ones that are in this video, be sure to join my Discord server using the link in the description. We've got multiple channels completely dedicated to sharing toku ideas, and I don't know, you can also just talk to me in the Discord server, there's that, but toku ideas, that's what's more important. T.L. Savage's idea begins after King Arthur's death was wiped from the minds of the citizens of Avalon, turning his life story into a mere fairy tale. In the present, Aiden Pierce is drawn back into Avalon and becomes Kamen Rider Camelot, with a new goal to stop the Orkney Kingdom's invasion of both worlds. Other riders will join this fight, including Kamen Rider Faye, Grail, and Merlin himself, all based off different stories about King Arthur and stuff like that. Together, they go against Kamen Rider Vane and Dread, resulting in new forms for Camelot and Merlin, like the Ultimate Wizard and Avalon Dragon form. This anniversary Sentai from Firestorm Dell finds its roots in Time Ranger, after the Time Protection Department discovers fluctuations caused in Sentai history by the Time Alter Unit. Oddity Sentai Mix Ranger is created to combat them, made up of civilians from the past, present, and future thought to be killed, but merely pulled out of time in order to save all of Sentai. To save all of Sentai, they need the powers of all Sentai. The Mix Rangers will have Sen-Time watches corresponding to all prior teams, and when used, they summon the weapons of those teams for battle, including the powers of team cannons. In Digital Jacob's Super Sentai idea, an evil type of virus known as the Bug Bites has arisen and threatens every aspect of life in this hyper-technological Earth. The Cyber Crimes Unit uses the Apply chips to absorb these viruses and uses them to create Cyber Sentai Apply Ranger in order to protect the internet of the world's technology from falling into the wrong hands and absolute chaos. Hyper Rabbit's Kamen Rider Licks is about an aspiring zoologist named Neil Kishner, who was recently recruited by Pursue, a secret organization that deals with alien threats, like the currently attacking Converterans. These aliens seek to destroy Earth's wildlife, so Neil takes a personal vendetta against them as Kamen Rider Licks, to the dismay of his senior Kamen Rider Orcs, an experienced member of Pursue. Alongside Kamen Rider Hawks, these three riders fight the aliens to protect the planet's natural beauty. This idea from Taimen215 is an adaptation of Kaizoku Sentai Gokaiger, but not a rewrite of Power Rangers Super Mega Force. Instead, it focuses on 6 new teenagers with attitude that were sucked from the real world and transported into the Power Rangers universe directly after the ending of Super Mega Force. As Power Rangers Pirate Fury, they dive into the backstory of Gosei's legendary powers never seen before on this Earth, original Power Rangers ideas like the Jungle Masters and the Titanium Ranger, and they even encounter new threats like the pirate Silas and new heroes such as Spirit Ranger Red. Evil Deleter is Alex's Lot of Numbers original toku idea. It takes place in a world threatened by groups called the Akuzai Connexus, led by the Big Brothers and their monsters, the Evils. Though they are trapped underground, if they ever come to the surface, they could threaten the well-being of all people, which is why the Polis Corporation sends out the Deleters, a group of cybernetic heroes in order to hunt the Evils down and delete them. The main 6 characters are a ragtag group known as the Saga of Kaio and are all depicted on the Evil Deleter Deviant art page, which also contains much more information on this series. Power Ranger Anthony's submission is titled the Juju Majin fanfic. Oh my. So this takes place during the Zenkaiger series and is all about Majin and I fighting the Toji Tendo together with the other Rangers, I guess. Majin and I are going to be constantly shipped with each other during the course of the fanfiction, and I guess that's a key plot point because it causes conflict with the rest of the Zenkaigers, but eventually we all put our differences aside to battle the Toji Tendo, and the story ends with me asking Majin out on a date. Since we won't be getting a crossover movie with Ultraman Z and Ultraman Taiga, Anthony T has provided his own idea for how that would go down. The movie begins with Haruki and Z returning to Earth and meeting Ultraman Taiga's host, who requests their assistance to stop a new threat known as Absolute Tartarus. To assist the Absolute Chads, Jugless Habikura Juggler and Ultraman Zero also return. The movie ends with Z accessing his new form called Omega Final alongside Taiga's Ultraman Rega form, and they cause Tartarus to retreat back to the kingdom, or wherever it is Tartarus goes. Maybe it's Disneyland, the kingdom, you know? Sam Smiley Face's Kamen Rider idea takes inspiration from Kamen Rider Double with essentially two primary characters, but instead of being a 2-in-1 detective, it's a 1-in-2 people? I don't think that's how you say that. Kamen Rider Hydro and Kamen Rider Heat function as a mirrored set of riders. They both use a set of elemental discs, but Hydro uses one with the power of water, while Heat uses one with the power of fire. In battle, they both use limb attachment weapons, but they have mirrored functionality. So like if one person uses a sword, the other person gets a shield, and so on, creating tons of unique combos and fighting styles between these two primary riders. I'm probably saying this wrong. Yiden893 has a little webcomic for their series called Gang Gear Ganstar, which is a wholly original idea. The world is ruled over by multiple criminal organizations until a mysterious meteor shower rains over the planet and awakens the potential of many humans. Nothing much happens with this until the arrival of the Gang Gear suits, which is able to increase the potential of humans to an extreme level, providing a multitude of powers. As the suits become distributed to people with potential, the big question arises. Which ones will become symbols of good? Of evil? That's up to the user's potential and the webcomic, of course. This idea is a Kamen Rider OC by Tavo called Kamen Rider Lamina. He's based on a Brazilian folklore story about the Saci Perere, a brat that lives in the wild and plays pranks on people who disturb the forests. This power is channeled into the Trickster Perere Wonder Ride book, and when used in his chainsaw sword, he becomes a Seiken-wielding Wonder Rider. Kamen Rider Rocker is the music-powered hero from Scribble Daru. Rokuzma is a former member of a Rockman who was given a briefcase by a mysterious man in a black coat, which gives him a special job from a studio company in Japan. The job is to act as a security officer against the Jazu monster by using the contents of the briefcase. The Melody Driver, which transforms Rokuzma into Kamen Rider Rocker, the hero with the power of music. Astro's original Toku season, called Masked Hero Q, follows the story of Christopher, a big fan of tokusatsu and cosplaying. One day, when he goes to a convention with his OC cosplay, Masked Hero Q, a monster actually attacks the convention, and Christopher is killed after he tries to fight it. The god of hero creation, which looks like Sento from Kamen Rider Build, brings Christopher back to life with the Hero Brace, which allows him to actually transform into Masked Hero Q with full-on powers, and he defeats the monster. From there, the story is about Christopher learning to accept himself and open up to others about his love for tokusatsu, which culminates in the defeat of the final villain, who was similarly shy about her own personal interests regarding kaiju. Maayan Stern's Hidden Rider Chrono is an adaptation of Kamen Rider Den-O with a lot of really fun twists. The main character is named Mallory and has dissociative identity disorder in 4 and occasionally 5 colorful personalities. And one day, they are approached by Ben and the Chrono Train to battle against the Dolores, monsters destroying the timeline. Later Hidden Riders include Elekir with 2 forms representing his bipolar moods, and and Vocht, who unleashed the Dolores in this timeline in a fit of rage after losing her own timeline. She realizes the errors of her ways and fights for good against the one responsible for wiping out her timeline, Hidden Rider Shieru. The adaptation twists here are really awesome, but my favorite is Mallory's affinity for plushies, which results in her different personalities each sleeping with different stuffed friends, which is just really adorable. From Chungy Boy 123, we're taking a look at Kamen Rider Shishio. New Terra City is the pinnacle of human advancement in 2025 and visited by Ota Chikara and his friend Sakura Aoi. Ota is attacked by a mysterious figure and passes out, and when he wakes up, he turns into a lion-like monster. At the same time, a mantis monster attacks the city, and when Ota stops the monster from hurting Sakura, he transforms into Kamen Rider Shishio. After his victory, Shishio joins Kamen Rider Azuron, and the two work together to uncover the mysteries of the monsters, the Helions, and how it all connects to the mysterious new Terra City. Obu Sentai Uchurenja from Dago Show begins with a race between Nova and her ancient foe Black Hole, a villain with the power to destroy a galaxy with a wave of his finger. Nova arrives on Earth before her enemy and recruits a group of humans to use the power of space orbs and animal zords to become the Uchurenja. Black Hole's daughter arrives and summons a monster, which is dispatched by this new team of heroes, beginning their journey to protecting the Earth from the oncoming alien invasion. Kamen Rider Gen from Logan Sharkey is the story of Shosei Heiwa. As a child, his parents were killed by a monster, but he was saved by an unknown Kamen Rider and told that his destiny would follow a similar path. Years later, on a high school field trip, a monster appears and attempts to steal an artifact, prompting the arrival of Kamen Rider Double. Shosei uses the artifact, the Genesis driver, and fuses the powers of Ichigo and Kuga to become Kamen Rider Gen. From there, Shosei uses his new powers to search for the rider who saved him and the monster that killed his family in a sort of pseudo-anniversary show, if you couldn't tell by the main character's name being an anagram for Showa Heisei. Kieran D's idea began years ago when a group of Guardians harnessed the power of all living planets in Guardians, but were betrayed by Torlampu. He formed the Black Sun organization with the power of the sun, resulting in the other Guardians fleeing to Earth and giving 7 humans the remaining powers in the form of the Taiyo Lights, which transformed them into Hikari Sentai Taiyo Man. Torlampu uses his sun powers to create Taiyo Eclipse, an evil ranger, but he breaks free and becomes Taiyo Gray. Together with their new Scramble City mecha system, this team of rangers sets out to save the galaxy from the Black Sun organization. In the present day of Floral Margarine's idea, Sodamine Incorporated has just discovered an unlimited power source called Rider Energy. The company tries to install Rider Energy lines across Japan, but are continuously stopped by the Conda monsters released by the MIDI sonar terrorists. To combat this, they recruit Myro Yamatomo, who is not only struggling with his new sister's disease, but also is a soda addict, a janitor at Sodamine, and a genetic match for the company's new technology. With the promise Sodamine will pay for his sister's medical bills, he uses the Jundo driver and pop cans to become the fizz-filled fighter Kamen Rider Energy, who uses Rider Energy to protect Rider Energy being spread across the planet. Paradox Flare has a story for us titled The Invincible Warrior. It begins with a young man named Thomas discovering he is part of an ancient clan called the Jujube clan. He finds the Admin Sentai Mod Rangers, a group of chosen people whose purpose is to show the way of the Jujube Kaiser. He is told there used to be 3 factions of clans: the Jujube clan, the Paradox clan, and the Chronicle clan. The Chronicle clan slayed all members of the Paradox clan, and now they aim to destroy Earth and find a new home to replace it. In their quest to defeat the Chronicle clan, they will meet new friends with similar Kamen Rider power sets with the same purpose of defeating the Chronicle clan, until they encounter their leader, a time dimension traveling warlord with a grudge against me, I guess. Sorry to interrupt, but it's time for today's sponsor. I'm just kidding. There is no sponsor. While you're here, I guess we're at the end of the video, so I have an idea too. Using a new variant of the number 43 Ryu Soldier Sentai gear, my Zenkaiger OC harnesses the power of Kishiryu and becomes Ryu Kaiser. The design is obviously based on the Ryu soldiers. I was inspired by 2 Kaiser basically just being a Go-Kai Red remold, and since Drudon already has a T-Rex motif, this kind of uses a grab bag of elements from Ryu Soldier. The primary inspiration is Ryusoul Gold to be more distinct, incorporating into the weapon the Ryu sword, but also because personality-wise, he would be a bit similar to Kanalo from Ryu Soldier, Ryusoul Gold. Whereas Kanalo was obsessed with all women finding a bride, Ryu Kaiser would be obsessed with just one particular Kikinoid lady. To reflect this, the Ryu sword is able to grow and transform into the Ryu Zord, and then combine with Majin herself to form Zenkai-O Kishiryu Majin or Queen Majin. Name-wise, it's either just Queen Majin or a reference to Ryusoul Gold, and since the Ryu Zord itself isn't sentient, this is kind of the equivalent to a Super Majin power-up because, well, she's the best. If you enjoyed this third look at Tokusatsu fan ideas, consider subscribing to this channel. If you're not already subscribed, I do a lot of Toku content discussions. Big shout out to my patrons as well. You've been a huge support with all of these recent videos, and I really appreciate you. If you're wondering what's next for this channel, I have no idea, but it's gonna be something for sure.